The only problem was when he went to high school, he went to see this movie, Rebel with a Cause, and
James
it
Dean.
just very very impressive.
Impressionable.
And he started hanging out with some kids, and they formed a little gang. And the newspaper came around and took pictures of him. And my mother was quite upset. And he dropped out of high school, and then he he got a good job, but there's a it was a knitting mill, but not having a degree of any type, he couldn't give anybody
Right.
else.
How old was he when he dropped out of school?
I'm sorry?
How old was he when he dropped out of school? How old was he?
Oh,
Or what grade?
he was in I think 11th grade.
So very close to graduating.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's just so.
And he was the youngest, correct?
I'm sorry.
He was the youngest brother.
No, he was the second.
Oh, second.
I was the oldest. He was the second. Tom was third, and Mike was fourth. And then he married your mother, and
Very young.
well, as you know, they got divorced, and I went down to visit him, and he was living just a bare room.
In New York City.
Hmm?
In New York.
No, in Reading.
Reading.
Yeah.
I thought he was living with us in your parents' house.
Oh wait, he was living in Reading, and I said, I went to New York and it's so much better. There's so much more opportunity up there. I invited him to come up and listen to me, and he came up there, and he was doing pretty good at first. He got a job at a place called Almago Watches.
Right.
And I said, yeah, really good. I encouraged him to go to school, any kind of a school, just to get some kind of a
technical
thing you put
right.
after his name. These are really terrible. I don't know how.
No, you sound.
It sounds like I'm stuttering and stuff.
No, you're very clear.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And even in art school or something, you could be an artist,
Mm-hmm.
be something, and get the high school diploma equivalency,
right,
and then maybe even go to one of the colleges. But it never worked out. He just drifted around, and that was about, when did he come up there? About maybe 2 or 3 years before I left to go to Boston to take another job. And he'd been making around with different jobs down there. As I said, okay, just go to a school and get something. And I was financing a lot of this stuff.
Now, was this after he left my mother, or after they separated, after they left each other?
I'm sorry.
This was after he left, after my parents split up? This was after my parents split off, after my mother and him split up.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
This is
Was I still living?
He was living alone.
So I was
by room down
in New York,
10th Street or 9th Street or something.
And was I then living with the foster family at that point?
I'm sorry.
Was I living with the foster family at that point? Was I living in the foster home at that point, or
not a cutout?
Oh, that's okay. Was I living at the foster home at that point, or was I living with your parents?
I think you were living the foster home.
Okay.
You were living with a
Williams.
church-related guy.
Yes, he was a preacher, Williams.
Yeah.
And I lived with them until I graduated from high school. We stayed there the whole time, Richard and I.
How was that? I understood.
Yeah, it wasn't. I mean, they were good people.
That's what.
A lot of kids. Yeah.
So that was good for you.
Then?
But he was, I guess he was supposed to get some money to pay alimony or something.
Probably child support.
Yeah. And
he couldn't do it.
The court was getting these odd jobs for him, I think. But he's really in bad shape. The only thing he had in the room was an old bed, a bare wood table, and a chair. And, you know, really, really.
Why didn't he live with your father?
What?
Why didn't he live with your father then?
Well, that's the thing. My father's kind of funny guy. He had this house. It's, you know, all six of them were living there. And I guess Tom went in the service. And I don't know if Mike got married or not. But he had rooms there. I left, but he never invited him up there.
And he knew he was living in that. Did he know how he was living in that room?
I'm sorry?
Did he know that he was living in that?
Jesus.
That's okay. Did he know that he was living in that room in that condition?
Did my father know?
Yeah.
No, I don't think he did any interest at all in him. And my other two brothers didn't seem to have any interest either. But they both had families, I think, at that point.
Right. He came to visit us. The last time I saw him, I was 13 years old.
I'm sorry about that.
The last time I saw my father, I was 13 years old.
Was what?
1976, I guess.
1974?
6.
76?
Yeah, I was 13 years old. That's the last time I saw my father.
Okay, well,
He
that's when he was
in New York.
in Boston, I think.
I think he was in New York because he came to the house in Kutztown.
Right. Yeah.
He stopped in. It was nighttime. He came up and he knocked on the door.
What happened? When I went to the West Coast, I took him back to Ray. I said, you know, maybe you can do better here. I don't know what to do.
So
Did you have friends in New York? Maybe you can move there. I don't know. But I want to go out there. I'm not even sure if I like it. I might come back. And so I sort of hoped that my brothers would help him, my father. And let's see, 76. Yeah, that's when I moved to the West Coast. So that's when you must have seen him, when I came back there.
yeah, he just stopped by for an hour.
Yeah.
And
he also got in trouble when he got arrested.
for what?
And he's put in prison.
For what?
You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah. And nobody would go see him. And they
This
called me and told me.
this was in Pennsylvania?